unstoppable special needs estate plan. If you have a child with special needs, and you want to leave property to them, you need to be aware of the impact of Prop 19 on California property taxes. This can be a massive issue for all families, but especially if you hope to leave your house or a rental property to support your child with special needs in the future.
What affects us more deeply than the worry that our child might not have a safe place to live? It may be mental illness, and your child may, God forbid, be on the streets. If your child needs a great deal of support, will there be an adequate housing environment for him or for her? We guarantee you that the supply of high quality group homes in the future is not going to be adequate. It's not adequate now, and it's only getting worse. And the supply is not keeping up. In part, it's the cost of land and housing in the Bay Area here. It's just devastating.
Or anywhere in California, by the way. Southern California, anywhere.
So many of us plan on retaining the home, our family home, and having it there for our child. Your home may be your child's home, the only home he's ever known, and it is the future. Even if there has to be somebody living with them someday, that's going to be comfort. That's not a break in continuity. What if you want to save the home for your kid and you're not aware of Proposition 19, this dramatic change that undercuts the legacy of Proposition 13. Prop 13 in the 70s rolled back property taxes to a very low level, and they increased 2% per year. We have Prop 58, which said that when you pass your residence along to your child, whether or not your child lives in it, no property tax increase. Prop 19, this new law, destroys all of that. Drink that in. Okay, there's going to be massive reassessments on property when you pass away and the property goes to your child. It's a change in title, so you can't get around this by simply transferring your home to your child right now. That would accelerate the tax increase. So
yes, do not do that.
We have to look at this carefully and comprehensively. So let's take a simple example to play this out. Here we have somebody where the property taxes were minimal in the past.
$4,000 a year, let's say.
$4,000 a year.
The slide says.
Okay. We see this all the time. You bought your home so long ago, and the price was so low, prices kids can't even imagine today, and the property taxes are very, very low. And now let's say that the market value is $3 million. If your child receives the home and doesn't live in it, the property taxes are completely reassessed. Property taxes go from $4,000 to like $34,000 per year. So this is $1 million over your child's lifetime. It's dramatic. The exception, if you had a child who makes your residence her residence, then the first $1 million in reassessment is forgiven. It's not completely protected, notwithstanding articles that we saw in the San Jose Mercury and other publications. It's a partial protection. If that's the case, the first $1 million is forgiven, so the new assessed value is going to be $2 million. Property taxes go from $4,000 up to about $23,000. And you got to be really careful to capture that benefit, by the way.
Yeah, and no exemptions for a child with special needs, by the way. So, Mike, why don't we talk about rental properties and the fact that there are now zero protections, right?
So now you have a rental property, you have a vacation home. We have a number of clients who purchased duplexes. The idea being that their child will live in one of the units and a caregiver is going to live in the other. And they've had it for a number of years. Here we go. Property taxes are low. So let's go to another hypothetical where the property taxes are about $3,500 a year and the market value is 2.8. You pass away, the property goes into the special needs trust for your child, and you think that's a perfect solution. To an extent it is, because your child has a place to live. What happens with the property taxes? They're going to go from $3,500 a year up to about $30,000 a year. No exceptions.
One is if you work with us, we have solutions, by the way, but yes.
If you have real property and there's any thought about keeping that property in the family for your kids, and let's face it, real property in this area has been gold. It's been one of the best investments you could have. Now, if your child is going to sell the house for sure, you don't worry about it, but that's rarely the case. At least a smart kid wants the option. Keep the property in the family if he or she wants to at low property taxes, or sell it. And of course, if we structure it properly, no capital gains tax.
Let's say that a home is worth $3.3 million. And I know that's a huge number. I get that. But you leave it to a special needs trust and your child with special needs lives in the house. If the assessed value is $300,000 today, when you pass away or when that goes to the special needs trust, property taxes, even if your child's living there, would go up from about $3,300 a year to over $25,000 a year. Now, what does that mean? Over 5 years, that's $114,000. Over 10 years, $240,000. If that house is there for your child for the rest of their life, 30 years or more, about almost $900,000 in extra taxes that have to be paid. And you get nothing for it. And keep in mind, this is after-tax money. You can only deduct a little bit of property taxes, a small portion of property taxes from your income tax. So to pay those extra $890,000, the special needs trust would have to earn an extra $1.3 million or so. If you don't fix this problem, and we can fix it, that's why we're talking about this. We wouldn't just talk about a problem if we didn't have a solution. But this will often force the sale of a property, and keep in mind, if you structure it properly, you'll get a stepped up basis, or your child will, so they could sell a property with no capital gains taxes, but they need somewhere to live. So if you buy another property, even if it's cheaper, property taxes are probably going to be a lot higher than if we just locked in the low property taxes for what you already have.
If we're dealing with Prop 19 and taking steps to preserve property taxes, we have to look at whether or not there's exposure to the estate tax. The level of protection is extremely high, but in a couple of years, it's going to go down to a very high level, but half of what it is today. In some situations, it's important, if not necessary, to capture this thing called the stepped up basis, which simply means that after mom and dad pass away, the property could be sold and there's no capital gains tax. Sometimes, for estate tax planning reasons, we give that up. Think about the amount of money, cash, that would have to be in the trust to service the property tax. While there's a need for that money to pay for health care, to pay for Britney Spears tickets, to pay for transportation, I mean, there needs to be a lot of money in the trust. Ideally, you don't want that money wasted on a massive expenditure that's avoidable.
Reach out, contact us, 650-493-8070, gilfix.com. Very easy to find us. We're all over the internet.